Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. I am behind the steel curtain co-editor Dave Schofield coming at you again on a Tuesday night, about 10 minutes earlier than normal, simply because we were sitting around waiting to start the show and we're like, what are we waiting for? Let's go. Let's get it going. So
can't wait.
I'm here, as always, since you've already heard him, with my big brother, Rich. Rich, how's it going this evening?
Oh, just take in that sweet smell of boredom because there's not much to talk about since we didn't play.
Yeah, you know what? You and I didn't even talk over the weekend.
I know.
I was just nothing to say.
It was really a boring Sunday.
Yes.
I watched some football, not as much as I normally would have. I don't know. I was off from the start.
I know what you mean.
I was off starting last Friday. Just Friday when I knew it was just like, well, there goes my weekend. You know.
Yeah. Well, and I said this. When did I say this? When we did an AFC North wrap up as like in place of the post game show. I said, yeah, went to church. Usually I'm trying to get home in order to do the inactives article to make sure, I got that going at 11:30. Nope. It was a nice day. Let the kids play on the playground a while longer. Had nothing to rush home for. Came home. I was all ready to go down into the football watching area of the couch that has the Pittsburgh Steelers cover and everything else that I have.
The large indentation where you sit.
What's that? Oh, large. No, you got to switch up the cushions every once in a while, so you don't have to worry about that. But the problem was I never made it to the room. I never did. I had stuff on other places, but didn't make it to the room. The Steelers weren't on. I had no reason to set up. I was like, oh, I'm going to need to charge my laptop. What for? Don't have to have it on. Steelers aren't playing. Usually on Sundays, it's the only day of the week that I don't lay my son down for a nap. My wife does because I'm watching the Steelers at that time. Steelers weren't playing. I'm just watching Red Zone on my phone because it's the only thing I could watch on my phone when I was laying down. And what did I do? I fell asleep because the Steelers weren't playing. Big letdown, massive letdown. But guess what?
I was flipping between the two 1 o'clock games that I got, which everybody could probably guess what those were.
Well, you said the 2 1 o'clock games?
Yeah, the 2 1 o'clock games that I would get out here. What do you think?
Probably got the Ravens and Reds. Oh, sorry, football team. I almost said the whole thing. Yeah, Ravens and football team.
Yep. WPF.
So now, did you get an early Fox game?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I have no idea because I didn't get an early Fox game because they wouldn't play one because the Fox station's out of DC.
That was Cleveland, Dallas.
Oh, you got to see that one. I wish I would have had that one.
So I sat here at 1 o'clock. I was going back and forth between the two games.
Yep.
And third quarter hit of the game. I wasn't all that interested really that much in either game. I turned to Renee. I said, you want to go with me to Mom and Dad's? I'm going to go feed the deer. That's what I did.
I ended up doing other things at times because, football was still on and I was paying attention, but not in depth. Because you know why? It's not the Steelers.
Right. Because I just followed from my phone. I just kept updated on scores and what was going on, but I just wasn't as into it.
But now there's so much more to get into with it. There's much more to get into with it. Because now I do want to say something because, I had some conversations with some people off air. I had said some stuff about people and some of the reactions to the Steelers that I was like, come on, get real or whatever. I wasn't really saying that towards people in our live chat or anything like that. So people that took that the wrong way, I know it's one point, Wes, I think, we're good now. I said something. He thought I might've been referring to him. I was not. I was referring to other Pittsburgh, between media or other Steelers sources out there on social media and some of the stuff that they were saying. That was the thing that I'm just like, if you're going to cover the Steelers, don't overreact. I have a tendency to overreact. I'm like, I didn't like the overreaction. Yes,
I knew you didn't like the overreaction. It was an overreaction.
Yeah, but did it completely suck that the Steelers did not play this weekend? Absolutely. I thought about it at 1 o'clock. Well, first of all, I thought about it at 11:30 when I didn't have to do inactives. I thought about it then. I thought about it last night going on, or whenever the earlier game came on, the Patriots and Chiefs, which was kind of a weird game. It really was.
It was a weird game.
I thought about hearing that. I'm like, I could be watching the Steelers right now.
And I didn't get to watch much of that game because I had a work situation going that kept me at work until almost 9 o'clock. So it was like 8:40, 8:45. I hopped in the Jeep. So I threw it on my satellite radio, pulled it up.
Gotcha.
I was listening on the way home, but that game just was weird.
My daughter had play practice. I had to pick her up, so I was watching on my phone. The other thing is, I even thought about it right before we went on the show, because that was the other option, is that they would have been playing right now. Yeah. I'm really glad that was not the option. I honestly, as much as it stinks to have the bye over, I mean, from a fan perspective, it's nice to have the bye over with because you got the Steelers every week now.
That's right.
But for the team's perspective, as much as it would have stunk to have, as much as it stinks to have your bye early, especially to not get a true bye, the worst part, I think it would have been worse to have a Tuesday game, in all honesty. So it seems like Tennessee's finally starting to get stuff under,
look, and as stuff kept popping for them all the way into Saturday morning. I finally got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm glad we're not playing.
Yeah. Yep.
Because now I'm not putting next week's game at risk.
If you all did not catch it in the audio form, I know if you're listening to this in audio right now, hopefully you already caught it. For those of you that are catching this on YouTube, go check out our audio channel because we have so many more shows. Like even today, we have Jeff Hartman's Mike Tomlin press conference recap. You can't watch the press conference? Listen to Jeff tell you what happened in the press conference. Tomorrow, you'll have his injury recap after the injury report comes out. Things like that. But his Let's Ride yesterday, he had me on as a guest because he's saying he's thinking of an article where we need to fill something in on Sunday, and he throws a couple ideas at me. I'm like, those ideas are terrible. He's like, why? I'm like, because I don't agree with them at all. Just joking around. I'm like, Jeff, this sounds like a point counterpoint. He's like, I'll frame it up. We'll run it on Monday. So he frames up the article and he's like, this would be a good podcast. I'm like, what do you have for Let's Ride tomorrow? He's like, tell me when you're ready.
I don't always get to listen to those. But again, yesterday morning, I'm at work and had nothing going on in my office, just working at my desk. I pulled up, listened to yours and Jeff's point counterpoint podcast. It was great.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's how I feel about stuff. And it's okay if you feel differently. But yeah, it definitely stinks that the Steelers had to take the early bye week. It definitely stinks how it all went down, that they were even ready to practice on Thursday when they found out they weren't playing. So they're like, we're here. We might as well practice. We did find out today from Coach Tomlin that they got permission from both the NFL and the NFLPA that even though they had practice on Thursday, that they were still allowed to have practice Monday, because the Steelers typically have a practice on Monday coming out of a bye. And their argument was, you're the one who screwed us over. You're the one who didn't let us, didn't tell us that we had a bye until were at the facility Thursday. Now you want us to screw up our next week too? And they said, nope, go ahead. And I guess I'm sure they worked out something with the players or whatnot. But, Ben usually completely shuts down on a bye week. Now, granted, he didn't practice on Wednesday because he doesn't practice on Wednesdays of last week. But I don't know that he completely shut down and did the normal bye week stuff. I really don't know. So it just kind of threw everything off. And it stinks. It really does. But like I said in my article yesterday, the Steelers should be very mad that this happened. And who should they take it out on? The Philadelphia Eagles.
Right.
Right? Do you agree with that?
It's their fault.
Yeah. Somebody's going to have to pay for what the Steelers went through. Why not the Eagles?
Might as well be an NFC East team because they all suck anyway.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. But what we want to talk about now, because we kind of are wrapping up what's happened, all this crazy stuff that's happened since the Steelers were last played, since we were last with you on last Tuesday. When we knew there was some problems, we knew stuff had happened that day. We were hopeful that they would play. We pressed on. I did my Go West impersonation. I was the king of wishful thinking that the Steelers could still play. It didn't work out that way. I'm glad they didn't force the game on them. It was the right decision. But it still stinks. But now here we are. And not only do we have the news of the Steelers getting to play, and not only is the team, and hopefully this defense is going to be a little bit ticked off and fired up because of what went on, I think they got another reason to get a little bit excited, don't you, bro?
I do.
I do. And I think that reason, what reason do we have coming up here? What do we have? For those of you who don't watch it, you can't see it. We have the return of the terrible towels. The terrible towels will be at, sorry, I'm hitting my microphone, will be at Heinz Field on Sunday. Yeah, it's only going to be a handful of them comparatively. I mean,
we're talking what, 5,500 people,
5,500
right?
people, 5,500 fans.
Fans, yes.
Because
7,500 people. They're guessing between the players, the coaching staffs, all the other employees at the stadium, about
family.
2,000. Yep.
I bet you they've got to set aside stuff for some family. Between that, they have it 5,500 tickets. They are going out to a computer generated of season ticket holders who did not opt out. I, unfortunately, at the time I had to make the decision, I did opt out because at the time I was like, if they said I had to take the tickets to every game, I didn't know what I was going to do.
As did I, the person I shared tickets with.
Yep. So
we opted out as well.
But Wes wants to know about the kind of terrible towels. Hold off on that. No, you hold yours up. That's fine.
Mine's up.
You hold yours up. We both have the identical ones. We have the other thing that should be returning to Heinz Field on Sunday, and that is a worthwhile, hopefully somewhat, version of Renegade. We have the Renegade terrible towels that came out last year. So, of course, we are told, oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law. So, you want me to keep reading? Law? We're good.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not going to be the same. Duh. But you know what? 5,500 is infinitely more, is infinitely times more than zero for us numbers nerds.
Here you go. Wait, wait. I got to put that one up there.
Exactly. Mark, one of our blokes from down under, who I was actually communicating with earlier tonight. We're giving
David just got it right. Doesn't matter.
He said,
have 11,000 towels.
Because you need one for each hand. Oh,
there you go.
Yes, that's
love it.
Come on, this is the intercountry. What do most people have in their two hands at the game? They've got a towel in one and an adult beverage in the other.
No,
you got to put them down. And
it's got to be an Orange City.
Orange City.
Orange City. Orange City on one hand, terrible towel on the other.
Yes.
Away we
go.
That's
the only excuse you have for not having two terrible towels.
There you go.
If you were there, I do not know if they've sent this out yet. I really wish. I haven't seen Knapp in the live chat for a while because he's a season ticket holder.
Hold on, George Hot Thunder said 7,500, not 5,500. No, George, it is only 5,500 fans.
7,500 people. Yep.
7,500 people total.
Yes. So
Art Rooney came out. Art Rooney II came out earlier today with a statement from the Steelers and said it would be 5,500 tickets.
That's very good for bringing it up. And you know what? If you didn't know that, George, that's why you're here, right?
That's right.
We don't mind. That's
why I
had to change my article.
We made sure we were on top of it, And it came out 7,500, and I was like, that's not going to be the number. That's not going to be the number.
No.
And then not too much longer, I saw the release from Art Rooney II, who said, hey, it's going to be 55. And I was like,
I should have known.
Better than zero.
I should have known. Better than zero. Here's the one thing about that I want to ask about. And I know we have some interesting questions coming in the live chat. We'll get there. I'm going to get to the Survivor League. Wes wants to know if they're going to up that number. That really has everything to do with the state government. So hopefully
state and city.
Yes.
Because the state can up it and the city could still not up it.
And that's what the Eagles are worried about. The Eagles don't know if they're going to get to have fans.
Do it.
Because
right now the Eagles would still have zero because the city's not allowing anything.
The city won't allow it. But it seems like the city with Pittsburgh, they're ready to do whatever the state says they can do. And here's the question I have with that. So It's going to be 5,500. I doubt that changes for the following week when they take on the Browns. The next game you're talking about is November 15th, when that's Cincinnati is who I'm thinking. So that's the next home game. So you're talking about over a month from now. There's a good chance they could have even more. How many more? We don't know. But here's what's interesting. Did you notice that when they released it, what they're going to do is they're going to have them spaced out. They're allowed this amount of number. Everyone's going to be in the lower deck.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you. Maybe you could think of this. It would be a better. Does that have to do with getting people in and out?
Yes.
Because if not, why not have more people and spread them out on the upper deck?
No. Because if you don't go on the upper deck, then you don't have to have if you put people on up, then you got to have all the concessions and everything open up there. Keep it down. You can keep less things open. Okay. It allows you more fans into the stadium because you don't have as much staff.
That's why I asked the question. So they're probably, there's nothing above the boxes in the press area that's going to be even open. They're going to have it roped off. They won't even have to have personnel up there. So that works. But you know what? I don't know if they're still going to try to funnel. Do they still use noise in stadiums and have some fans in it? I don't know if they do that or not. I haven't cared enough to look because it hasn't affected the Steelers yet. And I didn't have time to look here. So maybe someone else knows that. But I
would imagine they still are, because I can't imagine something like 5,500 fans is going to bring the level up to what they are allowing other teams to pipe in.
Okay.
So I would imagine that 55 there is not going to add more to that. So I would imagine they probably still.
That's the answers I'm getting in the live chat from Wes and just me, that yes, that they'll still be doing that. That's good, because I don't want that eerie silence on TV. I know Jeff.
Well, you wouldn't Hartman, get on TV anyway, because TV's pumping in their own sound.
True. Yeah, well, sorry, Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman, he despises it. I'm like, to me, that's better than silence. That's like watching a golf game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and that's the other thing. Even golf, when it's all silent, when they go to putt and they hit a big putt and there's nothing. Yeah, that still isn't the same.
Yeah.
I have to bring this up. He says, Dave, upper deck, if someone sneezes in the upper deck, it's going to land on everyone below. That was a pretty good one, Thaddeus. I got to give you that.
That's pretty funny.
Okay. This is what has me excited. Okay. They didn't even play Renegade the second time because they knew the first time it was just with no fans. I don't care. I couldn't believe just being able to scream. They'll probably hear you. If I was sitting in my seats in the lower deck end zone and they're down at like the 10-yard line, I could probably scream and they would probably hear me. But I don't know if it would be that quiet. But just imagine when TJ Watt comes through and gets a big tackle for loss or a sack, and he comes up and it's fired up, there's going to actually be people there to react to it. When the defense comes out on the field and they're throwing their hands up in the air for them to get loud, guess what? There'll actually be someone to react to. I don't care if it's 10 people in the stands. I think it makes a difference just having somebody there.
There's someone there to react more than just your sideline. You're used to hearing your sidelines folks react.
Yep.
You know.
Do you think this has any bearing on the game?
Against the Eagles? No.
Yeah. You don't think so?
No, not against the Eagles. They're terrible, like the rest of the NFC.
Now, I was going to say, I think it does. Because who does the fans jack? The fans jack up the defense more. The defense can play angry. The defense can play. When you're on offense, you have to be poised. You have to be poised. On defense, you got to be smart, but you can, a lot of times it's just going out there and playing reckless. So with defensive teams, I think it does. I don't think it's going to change the outcome, but I think it's going to.
And if Coach Fiedner gets into the double R, double P style of play that he does sometimes, the fans will be able to voice their opinions there as well. So,
yep.
Just saying.
Yeah, they could let him hear it. But you know what? It was a long off season. I was so excited when the Steelers got back on the field. This is my fault. Everyone. I'm going to have to admit. I actually said to my wife after the Texans game, I'm like, that's 3 games, into the season. Remember how I felt when there was no football? I said, man, I'm starting to get into a groove so much. I'm just like, oh yeah, football. I can't believe I said that on Sunday.
You jinxed us.
Yes, I know, because then all
you're
of a sudden,
going to soon get the Kyle treatment.
I'm like,
you're going to get the.
Yes,
you're going to get the Kyle treatment.
I'm making a confession to that. So, I want to see the towels. I want to see the renegade. Hear the renegade. I think this is a interesting game. I did an article about the Steelers coming out of the bye week. Jeff asked me about it.
I read that one today
because he said, he's like, when did you do an article about coming out of the bye week? I said, I did one 2 years ago when I first started with BTSC, because the narrative at the time was, oh, Mike Tomlin's terrible coming out of the bye. And that's because they had won 1, but the 3 before they had lost. So they were only, 1-3 in the last 4 seasons when I wrote this 2 years ago. Well, and I was reminding everyone that, they had lost that streak, but his winning percentage coming out of the bye was the exact same winning percentage regularly. Then the Steelers have won the last 2.
Right.
So now they're 9-4 under Tomlin. And there's only 4 teams that have a better record than that coming out of the bye, and they all just have 1 game more that are 10-4 or 10-3, 10-4. And the Steelers are on a 3-game, or 3-year winning the game after the bye week streak, but they don't start very well coming out of the bye offensively. Did you read about that?
Yes, I did.
They haven't scored a first quarter touchdown.
Which is why I'm glad there's fans there.
Yeah, let them hear.
We're
not even talking about the first drive. Like, that drives us crazy. We're talking about the entire first quarter. The Steelers have not scored a first quarter touchdown in the game coming out of a bye since 2008. 2008. Tomlin's second year. So you're talking 11 straight games of no touchdowns in the first quarter. And they only have 2 field goals.
I know the best way to remedy that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Steelers receive the first half kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
Ray McLeod takes
Ray McLeod runs it back right away. I don't like that, because do you realize the Steelers have won the flip every week? Because they've got the option to defer each week.
Each of the 3 games.
I like that. I do. So what I'm saying is, the offense sometimes starts slow. I don't feel that way. I don't see that coming this time, because they didn't have the true bye, if you know what I mean. They started to prepare. They got the chip on their shoulder.
We didn't have the preseason. Mm-hmm. We've been seeing slow, adding a little more and other things to the offense every week. Why shouldn't that continue?
Yeah, so
that should continue. Will it continue?
Yeah, I think this is the year. They've only, under Mike Tomlin, they've only put up multiple scores 1 time in the first quarter coming out of the bye, and that was in that 2008. And the only other touchdown they had was 2007.
That was 10, right? It was a touchdown.
Oh, Thaddeus! Oh, asking the question of who scored the touchdown. Oh. That is a very interesting question that I might have to try to see if I could find that answer for you. You know what? I'm going to find that answer for you, Thaddeus, because the player who scored that touchdown, if you don't know, it was Mwelde Moore on a 2-yard pass from Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh. I remember that year. Mwelde was, he was a fantastic third down back for us that year.
Yeah. So if you wanted to know, I got you the answer. Okay. The only other touchdown scored in the first quarter coming out of the bye under Mike Tomlin was in 2007. That was a Heath Miller 1-yard pass from Ben Roethlisberger against the Broncos year before, in a game the Steelers ultimately lost. So let's not talk about that one.
Okay. So the Steelers get a first quarter touchdown this week.
Yeah.
Where's it coming from?
First drive. We're gonna break that streak. The last time they scored a touchdown on their opening drive was against the Patriots in 2018. I was there for it.
What do you predict? Who scores it? How?
Who scores it? I think it's going to be, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say it will be a red zone rushing touchdown by James Conner, but it will be more than 10 yards.
Oh, see, I was going to say James Conner, 6 yards.
6 yards? Yeah, I was going to say I'm not going to do the 1 yard variety. I'm going to say it's a little bit longer run, and I'm going to go with that. But you know what? I don't really care. I don't care.
I was not bad. 67
We'll
yards.
get to that. That's talking ahead.
That is. We're going to get to that second half show more.
Yeah. We'll go into all those things and hopefully be able to open up to some questions here in the second half. 2 things we need to do to finish up the first half. The one, I said I would bring it up because Thaddeus asked about it. I think I forgot last week. This is the show where I'm supposed to give you the update on the Survivor pool. I've been doing it on Stat Geek as well, just to make sure. Survivor pool this week, man, it was a much closer game than I thought it was going to be because they got down there close to score with under a minute left in an 8-point game where over half the people would pick the Rams against the Giants. And the Giants got down inside the red zone and made it interesting, but then they threw an interception. So I didn't see the interception. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if it was a tip pass. I didn't even watch that game. But that's who people were because I was doing the show with Brian and Jeff. That was the most common correct answer. Only 10 people were eliminated, but that does put it down into double digits. There are 96 people left. There were 10 that were eliminated. Only 2 people did not make a pick. In the fourth league, the one that wasn't as full, the only incorrect pick was someone who didn't make one. But half those people that were eliminated was because they picked the Cowboys over the Browns. And then 3 people picked I think it was 3 people picked the 49ers over the Eagles. See, I wouldn't have done
I wouldn't have done that either.
Too many
injuries.
Yeah. So that was the update there. And pretty much anyone who hadn't already picked the Ravens picked the Ravens this past week. It's just a lot of them had used it already because you had a feeling that although I didn't think I thought they would come out and dominate that game more than what they did. So
that game was about as ho-hum as you could ask for.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I watched Red Zone. That was the only game on in my area. And I was just like, eh. So, well, mainly I didn't want to watch. Who wants to watch the Ravens win? No one wants to watch the Ravens win. I'd rather watch another game. So I watched a little bit of every game. Like I shared, I think it was on the on the preview. I shared how growing up, our father was a constant channel flipper. We only had 4 channels, but yet he would flip between channels all the time. And
he would flip. Shoot, half the time we were doing the flipping because it was the old dial. Man.
Yeah, we had to turn it for him. But the thing is, remember, not only did he flip, he was not very skilled at it. He was always missing the best stuff and watching the wrong stuff on other channels. So because of that, I got so used to watching multiple.
He'd flip away when somebody's in the red zone.
Yeah.
And when he'd come back, he'd be like, "Oh, what happened?" Well, if you'd have stayed there while they were in the red zone, maybe we'd know. So, but because we're used to that, that's why I actually enjoy watching the Red Zone channel. Yeah.
So,
same
Rich,
here.
We only got a little bit of time before we take. I mean, we could take the break whenever we need to, but I wanted to ask you: is there one? What we're going to do the typical bye week thing, although it wasn't the typical bye week. You only got 3 games to go from. What's one thing so far in the Steelers coming out of the bye? What's one thing that stands out with them more than anything with you?
Okay. It's something I actually brought up today after I read Shannon White's stock report article.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was talking about, stock way down on defense around the league. And he was talking about some, especially of the Dallas game, their horrible tackling. And I had been noticing the same thing through the first 3 weeks. Some of the games I was watching, the tackling from teams has been terrible. But I had also brought up on this show, I don't remember if it was last week or week before, I think it was the week before, about how, I don't even want to say impressed, but just how pleased, I guess would be the best word, pleased I was with the Steelers tackling. We have been notorious for coming out the first 4 or 5 weeks and tackling poorly and then getting it cleaned up as the season goes.
Mm-hmm.
Our tackling has been solid.
Yes.
If we had poor tackling going on, if we had a lot of missed tackles, we're probably not 3-0 right now.
That's a very good point. Well, especially like what was that? Was it week 2? Things didn't really go the Steelers' way a lot of times. But tackling is one of those things that when you do it well, you don't always notice it. But when you do it poorly, you sure do.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good point to bring up.
I just noticed, and I'll tell you somebody in particular on the team that I thought has just done fantastic in their tackling is actually Mike Hilton. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton has busted up like 3 or 4 of those wide receiver bubble screens by slipping a blocker and then making the tackle. You know how many teams I've seen on those bubble screens? The guy gets by the block only to then whiff and not make the tackle, and the guy ends up gaining a bunch of yards.
Yeah.
You know,
how many times have the Steelers been taken advantage? I mean,
yes.
I'm just thinking like of Juju. I think when Juju got the first down, that was the Steelers' first down on their opening drive. That was against the Texans. He made somebody miss, didn't he?
Yes,
he made someone miss, and then took on 2 guys and fought past the thing.
Right. He made somebody miss to an extent, and then at the end, it wasn't so much that he made those 2 guys miss at the end, but he moved enough to be able to not let that hit be clean enough that he could still get the first down.
Yeah.
Where our players, we're not missing those kinds of things right now. Yeah. But if so, it's very seldom. And to me, defensively, that makes me happy because nothing I hate more that's going on in Mike Tomlin's tenure is the old, 3rd and 10. The idea is, make him throw it for 7 or 8 and make the tackle, and we have him throw it for 7, 8 and then miss.
No. And think of this. How many times has it been 3rd and 7 and they throw the ball 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and get the first down?
Right.
That's not how teams are moving the ball in the Steelers this year.
Nope.
I feel like when they're throwing short passes, they are getting short gains. The way that the teams are getting yards is they're having to throw the ball down the field. And the problem is when you're constantly having to throw the ball down the field and not taking those super quick short passes, then eventually that pass rush is going to get to you. Right. So it's coming together with a lot of different things. What I'm going to bring up, you brought up tackling, so I'll go to the other side of the ball. What I've really liked so far in this very young season where we finally have to talk about a bye week, spreading the ball around. I mean, look at everyone that they're using on offense. I mean, you don't know who to stop. And if you're going to focus in on one guy, then they're going to go somewhere else. I mean, are you worried about Chase Claypool going deep? Are you worried about Juju Smith-Schuster just kind of picking you apart and running you over? Are you worried about James Washington, Grandpa Strong, just saying, try to tackle me, and just forcing the separation because of his strength? Are you worried about Deontay Johnson, who just naturally gets separation in his route running? Are you worried about Eric Ebron in the red zone? If you do, guess what?
And the mismatches he creates. Oh, and don't forget James Conner catches the ball pretty well out of the backfield too. So
absolutely. And then you got Vance McDonald, and who is, first of all, has been run blocking fantastic. I mean, I should have asked Jeffrey Benedict to look at that as a film. He might have a tight end film room coming up. I don't know if he talks about the blocking or not, but even Mike Tomlin talked about Vance McDonald today and about how he's been pulling in the run game and the things like that he's been doing. I love that balance.
I still like the last game too. Getting, we got Vance a couple catches in that game. But my gosh, that guy still punishes people after he catches the ball.
Hey, if I was one of those people that cared more about fantasy than I did my own team, it would frustrate me because who would you play fantasy-wise every week for the Steelers? Because you never know who it's going to be. But guess what? Even though I do fantasy, don't care. I want to see the Steelers go out there and succeed and win and do everything they have to do.
Yep.
It's wonderful. I love it. So keep spreading the ball around and all that. We're going to take a break. We're going to end part 1. We're going to roll into part 2. We're going to talk about things going on with this particular matchup with the Eagles. We're going to not talk about it too long because we want to do some questions from the live chat at the end. So if you are listening to us in audio, make sure you get ready to go ahead and click on that part 2. If you're with us here on YouTube, we'll be back to you in just a matter of seconds. And we are back, Steelers fans. I am Dave Schofield, co-editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. I am here with my big brother, Rich, and this is the Scho Bro Show. Rich, still doing great? Having a good time?
Always great. Still
fired up.
Still bummed that there was no Steeler football this past weekend, but barring any setbacks from any of the rest of the teams we have to play all year due to COVID, we're now set for football.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? All that energy that I had getting amped up for the Titans, I didn't get to let it out. So now it's all directed about this game this week. That's why I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. Let's just do this. And I'm hoping that the Steelers are the same way. That's the thing. There we go. There's the terrible towels going that they'll be in the stadium. We love it. So let's talk about how that's going to work out this week. Steelers are, the last time I checked, unless it changed today from where I did the article this morning, they're 7-point favorites. They're a touchdown favorite at home against the Eagles. They were only like 1.5 points whenever the schedule came out. Are you surprised? Do you think that's a good number?
Yeah.
I think it is too. I think it is too.
I'm not, look, I get in a little bit messing with the over-unders and everything, but if you ask me if I care about where that number's at or where it's set, I don't care. I'll try to predict games based on the over-under. Do they cover? Do they not? This, that. I try not to read too much in terms of where the line sets.
Yeah. I don't like betting on the Steelers when they have more than a touchdown, when it's more than a line on the touchdown. Well, I don't bet anyway. I mean, I'll if I have the opportunity before the season starts to put a little bit on the Steelers to win the Super Bowl, I will, because I did that not this year because I haven't been anywhere, but the year before. Yeah, I shouldn't do that anymore because the last time I did, Ben Roethlisberger only played 6 quarters. So maybe I shouldn't even do that. But what I'm saying is when I make my picks, at least through the staff at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't like to bet to pick the Steelers when it's more than a touchdown because they don't care about winning by more than a touchdown. They care about winning. And I already saw someone say in the live chat, I think it was just me, but I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I misquoted someone. Just think of this. The Steelers could have won by more 2 out of the 3 weeks. They could have gone over 30 the last 2 games, but instead they're taking a knee in the red zone to win the game.
Yep.
I mean, how much are you going to fault a team for taking a knee in the red zone to win the game? I mean, come on. I'd rather have that than the points. So, is there anything about this matchup that scares you this week?
Yes.
Okay.
I got something. If you want to talk about something that scares me or something that I worry about, okay, something that scares me. Nothing from the Philadelphia Eagles scares me. Okay. What scares me is just the Steelers. Mm-hmm. And do we come out and play with that same kind of mindset as, oh, Philly's not that great, we'll just show up and win? Not, we're going to not get fired up and we're going to totally dominate this game and we're going to take it out on Philadelphia because the Titans were poo-poo heads.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. That's what I think we could see.
But if we don't, if we play lackluster, that's what scares me.
And the other thing is what scares me is I don't want to complain about it, but you know what the narrative is going to be, and I can't deny it, is that the Steelers want to roll, and the Titans screwed them over by not playing them. That's what it's going to be. Because if the Steelers don't come out looking just like they did, in the second half of the Titans, and I'm not saying that's a wrong take. I'm just saying I don't want that to be the case. I want to see the Steelers. They were continuing to get better while they were stacking their wins. You got to keep stacking those wins. Which reminds me, the Steelers the last 3 seasons have done pretty well at stacking wins coming out of the bye, not just winning that first week, But last year, without Ben Roethlisberger, they won 3 straight. The year before, they won 4 straight. And the year before that, they won 5 straight.
Right.
So, yes, it's early, but you know what? And that's going to be the toughest stretch of the season now is going to be you got Philly at home, Cleveland. Then you got those 3 road games that are going to go Tennessee, Baltimore, Dallas. And you're dealing with Baltimore coming off their bye, which stinks. It does. But you know what? You still got to be better than them to win the game, whether they're coming off a bye or not.
Exactly.
Bottom line is be better. One thing that scares me.
I can tell you some folks that aren't even thinking about that as an excuse with Baltimore, and that would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. The players on the field. They don't care about that.
Yeah. Yep. Because most of the time I don't even look to see if teams are coming off their bye when they play the Steelers until that comes up because I don't care enough about them. I care about the Steelers because it's kind of the Mike Tomlin mindset. You're dealing with that team that you're facing this week. And you know what? Once they're done,
and you know what? They're dealing with us too. Don't forget that.
That's the thing. They've got to get ready for the Steelers. So my thing is get on that roll. Let's get on that roll. So the biggest thing that scares me from the Eagles, that actually is the Eagles, is the biggest strength of their team is a lot like the Steelers, the defensive front. Mm-hmm. They do have a good defensive front. So the Steelers' offensive line, they're going to have to come to play. But here's the thing. Steelers' offensive line, Eagles' offensive line. Give me the Steelers. The Eagles is in rough shape. And I still would say Steelers defensive line, Eagles defensive line.
I'll take the Steelers all day.
Give me the Steelers there too. So
right.
Now you're looking at strength versus a big concern. I know Michael Beck put an article out there about the Steelers and out there in line where they could get tons of sacks this week. My thing is whenever
Steelers don't care how, you know what? I can tell you one thing. I bet Cam Hayward does not care how many sacks the defense gets this week.
Yeah.
You know what Cam Hayward's worried about?
1 win.
What? Yep. Win the game, baby. That's
how many
it.
points? Do the Steelers need to score 30 points? Nope. They just need 1 more than the other team. That's all that matters. So they could get a lot of sacks this week, but when you have that much of a mismatch, teams seem to plan around that. I thought that out of all the games the Steelers had so far this year, the one that they were primed to get the most sacks was in week 1 against the Giants and their offensive line. And that's when they had the least because the Giants spent all that time, all preseason, I guess, preparing for that pass rush to the Steelers and not letting that completely dictate the game. That could be what the Eagles are trying to do. But how crazy is it that they've won 1 game and they are by themselves leading the NFC East by a half a game because of that tie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's sad.
Yeah.
But the other thing I will say though is oh shoot, I lost it. You got me off of talking about that tie. Got me thinking about poor Kyle and apparently Wes as well that got knocked out of the survivor pool because of that tie.
Because of that tie. Yeah, that tie.
Oh no, I hate you. I hate you.
I did the little brother thing. You did
the little brother thing where
I am going to say something.
You talked so long, I lost what I was going to say.
For those wondering, the Steelers
I got it back.
record.
No, shut up for a second. I got it back. This is what I hope the Steelers are preparing for on their bye week. Okay. I hope we make some secondary adjustments. We're thinking they could pull off a lot of sacks. What I think there could actually be more potential for in this game is multiple picks in the secondary.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, because that has been the weakest part of the Steelers defense so far this year. And it could have, like we say, it could have been by scheme. It could have been by design. We have an idea of what they did, but really not the intricacies of every little thing that they did, that they were, they weren't going to let Saquon Barkley beat them. So they didn't mind giving up some yards in the air. Instead, he gets single-digit yards. So I understand that. You have to admit, he went to, I'm pretty sure, I know he's from Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure he went to Penn State. The one running back for the Eagles, Sanders, right? Is it Sanders? Miles?
Yes.
Someone will correct me. He's pretty decent, but he's not as good as any of the other running backs that they faced this year.
No,
in my opinion.
no.
So no, it's not a knock on him. It's that the Steelers have had to go against Saquon Barkley, Melvin Gordon, and David Johnson, who might not be as good as what they have been in years past, but they still have that.
Sanders might push Johnson.
Yes. So the biggest thing that and Philly's struggling with having any wide receivers. I mean, didn't they have a day at practice last week where they only had one wide receiver healthy to practice? They're practicing with one wide receiver. So what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to use their running backs and their tight ends in their passing game.
And we got one tight end on IR.
Yeah, and one of their two big ones on IR. So, now granted, he was the number 2. But still.
Although he was picking me up some seriously good fantasy numbers to start the year and then hits IR.
Yeah.
Some of my fantasy teams look like alphabet soup, but whatever.
So, bottom line is the Steelers, don't take it for granted. You've got to play angry. Come out there. I still think of my best speech I ever gave my players when I was a coach, when I was all fired up and we had this great defense and we were going up against a team, and I told them, not 1 yard. Don't be satisfied with even giving up a yard. Don't give up a yard. And it was that mentality. That's what I want to see of this Steelers defense. Don't even let them have a first down. No first downs. Take it to them. So here we go. I think the sack streak will continue. I think they'll get at least one. In case you're wondering, the Steelers' record for a game is 10, I do believe, and the record in a game in the NFL is 12. So it would be nice to be talking about that at halftime. But I'm just letting you know that so you can be reminded of this fact as things stack up when you're doing your knee-jerk reaction article. So you're welcome. Anything else you want to say before we open it up to the live chat?
No, this is again, I'm with you. I want to see the Steelers send a message to the rest of the league this week.
Yeah.
And we talked about let's take the frustrations of not getting to play the Titans and take it out on the Eagles. I think that goes double. I mean, pour it on them and let that be the message to the rest of the league. Yeah. Hey, this pissed us off. Look what we're going to do.
Look out. So,
yep.
There was a question I wanted to bring up before I even typed in questions. And that was, Thaddeus wants to know, with the Steelers not scoring opening drive touchdown in 20-something games, is that on the offensive coordinator for poorly scripting opening drive plays or offense just starting slow? Rich.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. The answer is yes.
It is a combination of both.
It is. I'm going to say this. I'm going to throw a number on it. I'm going to say 70 script, 30 poor play. I mean, think about it. I mean, the against the Broncos, what they do on that first drive, very first play, set up a real nice jet sweep, would have gotten some good yards. Fumble. Lost 8 yards. That's not on the script.
That's not on the script.
I thought the script was a much better in week 3, but I don't know how much of a script there was because they were they were going up tempo, which made me wonder, is Ben just coming up and calling the play? Maybe their best script was let's not have one. Let's just go no huddle and let Ben call the plays.
Let Ben call it on what he sees.
Loved it. Yeah.
Until Ben would show that that's a problem. Why would you could do that?
Yeah.
So
this isn't a question, but I got to bring it up because Matty P, one of the blokes from down under, make sure you're checking out the Steelers Touchdown Under podcast that comes out Saturday mornings. He said, I'd prefer we hold them to 0 rather than break 30.
Yeah.
I love your line of thinking. Love it. Absolutely.
Yep. Like we could come out, winning the game 49-33.
Yeah.
See, that's not sending a message to the rest of the league. Okay. Winning the game 26-0, that's sending a message to the rest of the league.
Let's return the favor. Let's go 34-3. You know what that is?
What's that?
That's the score of the last time the Steelers and Eagles played.
Okay.
On the other way around.
Okay.
You remember that one?
No, I don't.
That was ugly. Oh, that was 4 years ago. That was bad.
That was probably that just. Bad. Wait, yes, I do. Yeah. Sorry. Thanks for stirring up terrible memories.
Yep. So plug it from your mind. I'm going to ask you a question. Who in the NFC East wants the number one pick?
Apparently, all of them.
Apparently, all of them. They all want to fight for it. So, yeah, I know that's bringing thing. So, because Mark wants to know, will the Steelers have a shutout game this season? Shutouts are so hard in the NFL. I got to look that up. When's the last time there was a shutout?
They're very difficult in today's NFL because so many of the rules benefit the offense. And it's hard to at least keep a team out from scoring 3.
Yeah.
And there are some really good kickers in the league here.
You want to know what I think? Anytime a defense keeps the other team out of the touchdown zone, that's like pitching a shot.
I'd take talking
like 3 or 6 points. Yeah.
I'd take 34-3 where the Eagles score on a 53-yard field goal
at the end of the first half.
That's what they had to do to get 3 points. Okay.
Yeah. So that was people are also wanting to know why I reminded them of that terrible Eagles game last night.
That one was particularly tough on Kyle and I because the other side of my family, not our wonderful Schofield side.
Not my side. Those people I'm not related to.
But the Maston side, where Renee's brother and her stepbrother are big, tremendous, huge Eagle fans. Yeah. Let's just.
And
they've not been particularly, especially we saw Renee's brother a couple of weeks ago, and he's not been particularly happy. I'd like to keep it that way.
Yeah, let's keep it like that. But you forget.
Sorry, Ryan. We got to keep it that way.
I don't know what the matchups look like. I don't know if any of them face each other this week. But I'm like, the Eagles could lose and still be leading the East. You know, I mean, Washington and Dallas, I'm pretty sure don't play each other this week. So it's still very possible. So here's another good question for Matty P. What happens first? Ben throwing 4 touchdowns in a game or 2 interceptions in a game?
You know what? I think there's a good chance it could be the 4 TDs.
Okay.
Just because of our ability to spread the ball around to so many different guys. And I believe Ben's ability to spread the ball around to so many different guys makes it less likely of him throwing picks. You think about all the picks that he's thrown in the past. Well, he threw a lot of them to try to force the ball into Mr. 3rd and 5th.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah,
I think there's probably a better chance he throws 4 touchdowns.
You ready?
Yep.
I think it's 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Nothing against Ben, and because sometimes, I mean, did you see the pick 6 in the Kansas City New England game last night? That was not on the quarterback. He hits Julian Edelman at the line of scrimmage in the hands at his face mask, and he doesn't catch the ball, and it goes right into the arms of the Honey Badger who runs it in for 6. I mean, that had nothing to do with the quarterback. Nothing. So that happens sometimes. And the reason I don't know that Ben Roethlisberger is going to be in a situation that he has to throw the ball 4 times for a touchdown.
But could he? Yeah, he could. And where it's going to happen, Dave, is
if they put it up and he'd have to do it in the 3rd quarter. They're not going to throw a 4th quarter touchdown.
How do you know that?
In a game that's that high scoring, because I don't think they're going to be giving up that many points.
Okay, except for the fact that they will not, you're talking 4th quarter and you're up big and there's 10 minutes to go in the game. You telling me we're never going to throw the ball?
Oh, no. And what I'm saying is
where he's going to get that is he's going to throw an 8-yard slant to Juju who breaks a tackle and takes it to the house.
Yeah, I just started to think about that. I'm like, that's not a very good take. I'm going to change my mind on this.
Okay.
It's going to take something like that because or next thing you know, the Steelers are down at the, they're 1st and goal at the 5 and something happens. They, Ben Roethlisberger gets an intentional grounding penalty or, like last time, or there's something that all of a sudden it's 3rd and goal and they're at the 9. you know, then honestly, if it's in the fourth quarter and they're up by more than a touchdown, I see them even on 3rd and goal from the 9, running a draw and kicking a field goal, just because that's kind of how they work. I guess what I'm saying is not that it's impossible. It's just not going to be as likely.
I will agree with you that if the 2 interceptions come first, that one of them will not be Ben's fault.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. You know what? I wouldn't mind seeing 2 interceptions from Mason Rudolph because he comes into the game because the Steelers are winning by so much. You know, he has my permission, or one from each quarterback.
That's not going to happen much though, because you know how much Ben hates to come out of the game.
I know that's true, but boy, it would be nice to have that royal beatdown shellacking when that could happen. So, I'm just bringing up the very next one. I'm way behind the live chat. I'll try to catch up. Wes wants to know if we think McFarland could be in for a good matchup against this defense that has a good but somewhat light front 7. I don't know that he's a pound them kind of guy when you're dealing with later guy. I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
I don't want to say that I don't want to say that the matchup is good for Ant Mac against that front 7. I wouldn't see it as being much different from what I saw from him against the Texans. And the thing you've always got with Ant Mac is get the ball in his hands, get him just a little bit of space. He's always got the possibility to make something happen and can take it to the house.
Yes. So
I mean, I'm not saying the matchup isn't favorable. I'm not saying it is favorable. I'm saying that to me, it's a matchup. Could I see Ant Mac getting a touchdown? I could see Ant Mac getting a touchdown.
It has the potential,
but I don't see it as being anything because of the Eagles. I see it more as being because of Ant Mac and what he brings.
Once again, it is so difficult. I do really love how the Steelers have not given a running back 20 carries this year.
Yep.
They haven't hit 20. I think they've been at 19 a couple times. I like that. You know, you still have a premier back, but you don't have to run him into the ground.
Correct.
So it's hard to say because who knows? Maybe Benny Snell comes in for a few snaps early, much like McFarland did the last time the Steelers played. I keep wanting to say last week, but I know it was more than a week ago.
I know.
And maybe Snell just runs over people and they realize, you know, he's the guy we're going to give it to some today. I mean, things change. I know sometimes people disagree. As someone who's coached football and Jeff, who's also coached a lot of stuff, we agree with this. Sometimes there is such a thing as a hot hand. It really is, you know.
If Benny Snell
comes about the game matchup, sometimes it works.
Running through people for 6-7 yards a pop. Maybe you're like, you know what? The Steelers say, you know what? We're going to do this some more until they show they can stop it.
Yep. All right.
That would take away from Ant Mac.
Okay. Dusk Thunder. Who do you think was better, Fietner or Haley?
Haley.
I think they both brought different things. I thought Haley.
They both brought frustration, but they were both different frustrations as well.
Different frustrations. Haley was more of a personality issue and a stubbornnness issue, like he wouldn't run a quarterback sneak. But boy,
Haley was very much a my way or the highway kind of guy.
Yeah. Yep.
But do I like some of what he could do and where his offensive mind was? I think was probably a little better than Fichtner's.
Cree wants to know the odds that the Steelers will keep the Eagles under 200 total yards.
That's a great question.
That's a good one.
200 total yards. I'd say we've probably got about a 25% chance of doing that.
I say, I'm going to give it kind of a Dave answer. I'm going to say the magic number is 7. The magic number 7 is if the Steelers can get 7 or more sacks, they're going to set them back so many yards from those that they're going to put them under 200. That's
a good one. Okay.
That I think
truly stat geeky answer there.
It's truly geeky. Gotta love it. Yep. Okay, Just Me wants to know: do we have 0 interceptions? Meaning, I'm going to assume that they mean that she means throwing.
Yeah, that we throw 0 interceptions.
No, we'll answer both.
Yeah, answer both.
I think the Steelers will. I don't think this is the week to not have an interception. I think Ben will possibly throw one just because they didn't play last week. one of those factors. But I think the Steelers will get one, if not more.
Yeah, I see it 1-1.
Okay.
I'm kind of with you. Each quarterback probably throws a pick.
Yeah. So
actually, you know what? No, I got to go back on that. Wentz is going to throw 2.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he could maybe.
Yeah, because he's been a little more careless with the ball.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'm so far behind on the live chat. You all don't have any idea.
That's all right. I followed back with you, and so now I'm way behind too.
Wes wants to know Jets on our schedule. Not this year, unfortunately. The team from the East that the Steelers played, is they play the Bills this year.
Yep.
So, you got one?
Yep. Next one up was that one.
All right.
So, when do you think the Steelers finally score 30 plus?
I'm going to say this week. I think this week
You've already said the score is going to be 34-3. So
no, I didn't say it. I mean, it would be nice if it would, but that's not my official prediction. But like I said, it would be nice. But I honestly, you know what? I take it back. I don't know that it will be this week, because if the defense is completely dominating the game,
I'm telling you, 25, 26 points for us and 0 for them would be wonderful.
Yes, I would like that. So,
but you know what? I give us about a 50-50 chance to get 30 this week. It's really going to depend on the Eagles. And it's going to kind of depend on how we play. If we give up a few points, like if we give up 14, I think our chances of scoring over 30 goes up.
Yeah. Hey, I keep bringing up the same person asking questions, but it's funny because Matty P's not allowed to ask anymore because Mark told him that he needs to save these questions for their own show. So we'll go back to Dusk Thunder again. Wants to know, will they keep the streak of having a 100-yard rusher?
I think we do.
Yeah. My biggest concern of when that stops is when they divide up the yardage too much. If it stops, it's going to be because of that.
Yeah, I don't worry so much about it. The 100-yard rusher has been kind of cool. Mm-hmm. I would prefer to see us get 130 plus as a team.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah, I'm you know what I'm reading right now? Everybody's answers to these questions.
I know everybody's. Somebody brings up a question, and here's a great question.
Okay,
you missed it. It was right under the one you just did.
Bring it up.
So Wes asked Mark, when does your show air?
I saw that one. Yeah, there's an audio only, comes out Saturday mornings. It's kind of hard for them to do the YouTube thing, being 14 hours in the future.
Oh,
so okay.
2 interceptions, 4 touchdowns. Could they come in the same game?
Honestly, if that could, because if the Steelers are turning the ball over, they could be in a situation where they need the more points. So that's
I know that's an interesting little twist to throw in on that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, I'm going to
Crazy Blue. If that ends up happening, I will.
Yes.
I will.
Crazy Blue 223. You got to remember that. I'm going to have to just stop just because we're really running over. You've got to think about what your score prediction is. As we bring up Crazy Blue once again, what comes first? An Edmonds interception or breaking 30 points?
Breaking 30.
Okay. I could see that. I don't know. He doesn't have the best tracking the ball skills. We know this. I don't see Edmonds. Edmonds is more the guy that hasn't earned the confidence to make the play that he has to on the ball, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I would definitely see the 30 points. So, Rich, do you have your prediction?
I do.
For Sunday?
Yep.
Okay, what do we have?
31-6 Steelers.
31-6 Steelers. If anyone has their prediction out there, throw it up real quick before we close.
They give that make that statement. They give the pounding. We give up a couple field goals. That's it.
Yeah. 31-6. I love it. I might have to remember that. Who knows? I might even steal that.
No, don't steal that because that's hard to put that biggest spread on a game when you're kind of picking it. But
Corey,
I can really that's not a bad one, Corey. I like it.
Matty P, 28-14. Brent has 38-14. Wes has 35-13. These are some interesting scores. Well, I'll continue to bring some of them up on YouTube. We might not say them out loud for those of you on audio, because want to let you know we are back to our regular podcast schedule, because we are back to our regular scheduled game. Fingers crossed, nothing pops up here. That's what you'll be getting from behind the steel curtain. You will have the audio only shows coming all week with the regular Let's Ride Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We had the live mic Tuesday. My Stat Geek will be on Thursday. You've got the Touchdown Under on Saturday. Then you've also got the pregame show with Brian, and it has been with Kevin. He couldn't do the one against the Texans because his high school season's starting to ramp up with everything. Then you've got the small shows. You've got the injury reports. You've got some breaking news ones that come out that we had last week. You've got the Tomlin recaps. And then you've got all the YouTube shows that we have Saturday through Thursday. So you'll have the Know Your Enemy tomorrow night. Make sure you're checking that out. Thursday night's preview. Saturday's Brunch with Tony. You'll get a post-game show Sunday. Rich, how you feeling? You ready to get back to football?
Feeling better. Get back to some Steeler football. Hey, if anybody out there, listening, if you happen to be one of those lucky 5,500 fans to go to the game, remember, 2 terrible towels, one for each hand.
Yep. And Wes wants to know, will there be an Eagles guy this week? Yes, there will be. And we'll have an extra audio podcast for you guys when I go on the Eagles show this week, that I will be doing that. Bleeding Green Nation will be coming onto our show tomorrow night, and I will be going on their show. I'm not sure exactly when that airs, because it's not a live show. It's a recorded show. So ready for this game, ready for this to go on, but let's get there. Let's stay focused. Let's do everything we can. Wave those towels. We want to thank you all for joining us again tonight. We will see you next week, hopefully celebrating another Steelers victory.